is a beautiful piece of wall art you got behind you.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to ask you. I read that you're a big fan of Queen, that you said you have an affinity for Queen. So, I mean, I
Yes.
could talk about them all day.
Oh yeah. It's hard to be a rock connoisseur and not have a special place in your heart for that band.
Exactly. They just covered, every type of genre. And Freddie, I mean, his voice suits everything.
Oh yeah, brilliant. And every time I dabble with my vocal coach, and she's always trying to get me to sing a little bit healthier, a little bit proper. She's like, if you want to sing in Freddie range, you got to be able to do it this way or you're not going to last. And it's like, it's always about Freddie. When you want to go from here to here as a male rock vocalist, it's always about Freddie.
Yeah. And I heard that he didn't remove or he didn't fix his teeth because he was afraid it would affect his vocals.
Yeah, there's something about that. I think the only thing I could think of is because his mouth was so big that he could really open it.
Yeah.
And that kind of like just being able to do that, it really helps you kind of get that little bit higher sometimes. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a superstitious thing. Maybe there was like some, some evidence to support that. But hey, whatever he did or didn't do, it was the right decision.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to ask if he was one of your main vocal influences or if there's other singers that you admire.
Well, there's definitely other ones, but I mean, like for me, when you're talking about greatest rock vocalists of all time, for me, it's like Freddie, Chris Cornell, and they're both kind of doing this. I mean, Freddie was much better live. He was just more consistent. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to beat Freddie Mercury. I mean, when I start thinking about vocalists who are better than Mercury, I mean, I'm talking about people like Aretha Franklin and, Celine Dion and like some of the crazy best vocalists of all time. Like, I don't even know if there's anyone in the rock genre better than him, to be honest.
Oh my God. Yeah, Aretha Franklin, everything she sang was just so effortless,
Oh yeah. Easy.
She just opened her mouth and it just flowed.
Yeah, some people got it, and she's definitely one of them. And she, when you read her story too, it's like, oh, no wonder you were able to like just, the blues is just in some people, and it was certainly in that woman.
Definitely. Yeah, but I think on your latest single, Eyes for You, it really showcases your vocal range.
Yeah, thank you. And that's kind of where like, singers like Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, even some of the more 80s guys like, what's his name? I'm blanking. Most of the hair metal guys always sung high, but some of them would, build low and then go high. But the grunge guys I found were really great at that, especially like the guys who had range like Cornell and Staley. And that song was definitely more of a kind of a master class from those two gentlemen, more than like a Freddie Mercury, for example.
Yeah. One song that comes to mind is Hunger Strike.
Yep.
With Eddie Vedder and Chris Cornell. I think that really, at the end of the song when he's going really high, I'm going hungry. I mean, that just hits you in the feels. I really love songs like that.
That song was actually when I was like, I don't know, maybe 16 or 17, and I got a scholarship to go to school for university, and I knew I had to sing in choirs, and I started taking like private lessons and stuff. And my teacher on day one was like, okay, you have a first tenor range and you like rock, like here's some homework, here's some singers, like see what you identify with. And I liked, Audio Slave and Soundgarden at the time. And he was a funk and soul guy, but he was obsessed with Chris Cornell. And Hunger Strike, I was like just flat on that. So that was the song we used to kind of like, okay, let's see if we can sing this song. And I learned proper technique and learned how to warm up and whatever, that song, the day that I was able to sing that song was like, okay, it was like from here to here kind of moment. And then it was, all right, I want to keep learning. I want to keep getting better. Let's see if I can do the vocal solo next and hit all those stupid Freddie Mercury high notes that Chris does.
Yeah, that's definitely a song that you need to have good control over, but
it's fun, and it's such a brilliant song, and there's plenty of live versions that Chris did by himself with just an acoustic guitar. So it's always been a song that I've gigged with, because you could sing it by yourself. There's ways to do it, and it's a great duet song. I can sing it with women, I can sing it with men. It's a great, it's a great song.
So going back to Eyes for You, I know the song is about addiction, and there's 3 lines in it that really, I think, nail the actual issue, I guess, about addiction. Is governing bodies and doctors pass the blame, killing you softly, a generation is sold by the pound. Or doctors pass the blame around, killing you softly, a generation sold by the pound. I think that really kind of nails it. What kind of inspired you to write this song? Is it something personal, or is it just, you know, a topic you wanted to tackle?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. It's such a grotesque problem right now, especially in North America. I live in Canada, and we're not immune to it. With our health system and the way that we don't have private insurance, we don't have private this, private that. We still have issues here. Why? Because lobbying and, you know, doctors still get new watches and incentive packages and brought up to restaurants and blah, blah, blah. Like that happens here. So we have the same issue. And, you know, I think everybody at some point knows somebody or maybe went through it themselves. You know, for me personally, I was no exception to that. You know, family, friends, rest in peace to some of them. And we had a summer, I think it was 2017, could have been 2018. It was bad. The whole fentanyl thing, everything from coke to pills to whatever was being laced with it. And people were dying. And there was a weekend where I was downtown in a neighborhood and we were partying. And 27 people OD'd and died in that neighborhood that Saturday. And we were there. We were, you know, the difference was we made one decision different than a lot of those people. And it was just one of those, like, this is close to home, like to the point where cops and paramedics are being told, don't touch anybody ODing. You have no idea what's going on with them because of the whole fentanyl thing with skin to skin, blah, blah, blah. It was just like, man, this is getting out of control. And I, when I was in school, I was a history major and I took political science and whatnot. So we were really looking into like how campaign funding worked, how lobbying worked and how that. So I started just looking into what happened with pharma and the whole, you know, the Sackler thing and all of that from the late 90s when oxys came in. And I was just like, wow. I mean, you still don't let us smoke dope. Are you kidding me? Like kind of thing. So I wrote a song about it. And it was a song that we initially started demoing in 2017 and just kind of, you know, lineup changes and some events and big opportunities. It kind of just sort of sat in the pool of songs that have been demoed. And when we got to recording again last year, we finished the song and we were really happy with it. Initially, we thought of it as more of like a darker, deep cut, but everybody around us at the time was like, this chorus is really powerful. Like you guys should consider see if you could do a radio edit, see if you can, you know, do something. This is a powerful chorus. Like, I don't think it has to be a deep cut. And we kind of went with that, especially, you know, given the consideration of coronavirus and all that, our tours are gone, whatever. So we were like, you know what, let's see if we can push this song a little harder and see if it can kind of move the needle a bit without tour support. And here we are a couple weeks later and it's been going pretty well so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a killer song. It, like I said, it shows off your vocal range, and I love the guitar bits, the solo, and also it's a relatable song. So
yeah, thank you very much.
It's a good choice. Yeah, I think it's definitely something people can relate to. Here in Boston, there's a street called, well, the area is called Methadone Mile. It's just a very depressing street to go down, but yeah, I think it's definitely a relevant topic. So
for sure,
it'll resonate with a lot of people, I think.
For sure. And
yeah,
it's yeah, and to your point, you know, there's neighborhoods in every town and city that are like that. And you know, from, you know, a friend of mine whose parents made $700,000 a year, her dad is an addict. You know, from my buddy who can barely afford to feed himself is an addict. Like it doesn't matter, you know, it's everywhere. And it was universal enough to talk about, but I used my own kind of personal, which is what songwriting is. How do you personalize something and authenticate it, but it's also universal enough. And this was a really natural one for all of us. And we're happy it's been received well so far.
Absolutely, yeah. So I know you guys are big on the 70s and 90s, you know, classic riffs. What would you say are your favorite riffs of all time?
Favorite riffs of all time? Oh boy.
I know it's tough.
That is tough, especially because when you think about like the 70s especially, and even the 80s a bit, you know, these brilliant songs, some of the best riffs in the songs were like these little 5-second pieces of ear candy, like transition riffs. And it's like, what was that? Can we get more of that? But like big ones that stood out, like, I mean, the first time I heard Black Dog was like, whoa,
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? And Back in the Saddle, that Joe Perry, like that. I mean, that inspired Slash to play guitar, so that's good enough for me, right? And
Right.
I mean, obviously that intro riff to Sweet Child of Mine. I mean, I don't really listen to the song anymore, but every time that intro comes on the radio, I would listen to it. And then once the song starts, I usually change it because I've heard it a million times.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Spoon Man riff, We Die Young by Alice in Chains, that's a groovy riff. Queens of the Stone Age has got a ton of killer riffs. Rival Sons, I mean, there's so many bands, but like if I had to narrow it down to like, okay, I want to do this with my life sort of thing, like Black Dog, Back in the Saddle, Thunderstruck, like 12-year-old me just being like, what is this world?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, AC/DC, have you seen that video of them in South America somewhere, and the crowd was jumping so much they caused an earthquake?
Yeah.
Like it registered as an earthquake.
It did, yeah. That's awesome.
Crazy.
That's rock and roll for you.
Yeah. So, are you guys still working on the album, or is it completely finished at this point?
So what we did last year was we recorded those 3 songs. So we had Summer Nights, Take It On Stride, and Then Eyes For You. And we collaborated with a producer named Michael Hansen. And we were kind of unsure what the end result was going to be. In the market we're in today, just releasing singles is fine. So we weren't quite sure. And truthfully, a lot of it had to do with budget and logistics. We're like, okay, well, we can do this for now. Let's see if, you know, if the process goes well, we want to keep working with them. If we can afford it, like maybe we'll do a full record. We did the 3 songs, and then we won a major like iHeartRadio radio contest, Battle of the Bands. And then the rest of our year was kind of revolved around that. We got to play with some big bands like Finger 11 and Theory of a Dead Man. We went on the road. We got commercial radio play, so interviews, blah, blah, blah. So we're like, you know what, for now, we got 3 songs we really like, and we got a ton of opportunity. Like, let's stay sharp and let's tour, let's play. So we rolled everything out as singles. We had a national tour scheduled this year, which obviously, you know, everything kind of after March 16th is like, you know, the rest is history. So we were going to pretty much like A side, B side, some singles, and we had some other stuff ready to go. What we're doing now is we are writing like crazy. So there will be an EP, maybe an LP sometime next year or like early 2022, depends on how long things take and sort of what happens over the next 6 months. If we get shut down again, if we can get in the studio, like we'll be tracking before the end of this year for sure. And yeah, back on the road and new record for next year. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. I'm sure you're happy that you guys got that opportunity to tour, since, you know, the whole coronavirus thing is happening now. So at least you got a taste of, you know, going on the road and playing with some awesome bands, you know.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun, but it definitely made us want more. And we had a great, yeah, we had a great tour. Yeah, we had a great tour scheduled for this year, but, you know, I mean, bigger things happen. But we're hoping that, you know, everyone's kind of speculating next year will be when it goes down, and hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I know everyone's itching to get back to see concerts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the UK they did the first socially distanced concert where people had to sit on their own kind of like platforms, which was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, it looked cool, and honestly, like, you know, that could really work for the States because you guys got basically some tropical weather in certain states, right? Like, we'd be limited with that, just with like being able to do that year round here, but it's totally doable. Like, those platforms aren't expensive, you know, there's companies that'll provide them. It could be cool, you know,
Yeah.
and just there's plenty of green space to plop a stage and build a bunch of platforms and utilize the outdoors, you know.
Yeah, and I know some other bands are announcing drive-in concerts where people stay in their cars. So
yeah, we had a
whatever
big,
works at the time, you know.
for sure. We actually in Toronto, there's a band called July Talk, and they're really popular in Canada. They did a big drive-in show a couple weeks ago in Toronto down at Echo Beach, which is usually a venue, like an open air venue, but it is big enough that you can pull 300 cars in or whatever. I don't know what the cap was, like how many cars they let in, but apparently the show went well. People who went said, I mean, the visuals were great, the audio was good. There's a bit of a lag if you're listening to it through your radio, but nobody was giving anybody a hard time for sitting on their roof or on the hood of their cars or whatever, as long as they sort of stayed in their thing, and it went really well. So if we didn't have, you know, 4 to 6 months of winter here, that would, okay, problem solved, let's do it, this is how we're going to do it. But you know, for at least the next couple of months we'll be able to enjoy those here for sure.
Yeah, very cool. You know, as long as we get music in some, you know, format.
Yes, I think people are ready for it.
Exactly.
It's been long enough, and there's still so much uncertainty. It's like I'd like to be able to do something normal again, you know.
Well, I really appreciate the time you took. Is there anything else that people should be on the lookout from Drop Top Alibi?
Well, I mean, if you head to our website, droptopalibi.com, there's links to all our social media, all our streaming. If you're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, just at Drop Top Alibi, all one word, lowercase letters. Yeah, we got some stuff that we're sitting on, and check out Eyes for You if you haven't already, and be on the lookout for some more tunes before the end of this year.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brandon.
Thank you. Have a great day. Cheers.
You too. Bye-bye.